Hi, everybody. Welcome to days 2 and 3 of our coaching pedagogy class. As a reminder, I am actually out of the state in Baltimore right now, representing CSP at our NCAA convention. So I'm getting into the thick of things with athletic administration. A lot of the things that you're going to be learning about in the coaching class definitely would be duties that you might find yourself either doing or being privy to as a coach, kind of at any level. So we're going to jump into our virtual lecture. This is a substitution for our 2 in-person classes on the 14th and 16th. Introductions one more time about me. So I am your professor for this 8-week class. We meet Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays just for the first half of the semester. This class is really intended to help people think a bit more about a coaching profession, whether you are interested in becoming a full-time coach of an athletic team or working in a sports performance space or even athletic administration. A lot of the assignments and conversations are geared towards that. But there are many of you who've had great coaching experiences in your own life and maybe want to be a part-time coach in addition to a full-time job. So that's kind of the goal of this class. I have done some coaching in my life as well, both at the high school and college level for track and field. Learned a lot about myself as that went on, about my own coaching style and what I had for expectations, what I had for hopes, what I had for coaching philosophy, and how that needed to kind of shift as I got used to the participants and the age groups that I was working with. So I have a bit of a background in coaching. So if you have questions, if you want to pursue this, after you graduate or even while you're still in school as a part-time coach and you would like to have somebody else to talk to about it, you can certainly take advantage of some of the experiences that I have had. As a reminder, you are in charge of making sure you understand the syllabus, looking through the class outline and the expectations for class. We will move pretty quickly with this class because it's an 8-week class. We don't have a textbook for this class, but we will have an assignment due almost every week, and that's a lot of out-of-class preparation work, but when you come to class, you will be able to share those ideas with your classmates. So there's not necessarily anything to read before you come to any classes. Most of that content will be provided in class, but your homework or your assignments will be out of class work time that will take the place of some of the books or articles or videos that you would have read. Those assignments will take the place of that preparation. And then today we will touch on just some high-level coaching considerations and coaching characteristics. And I really want you to look at this through a lens of yourself, your own personal experience, and what you maybe envision yourself doing as a coach. So let's get started. I mentioned this on Monday, but we do have some engagement opportunities throughout the semester. I will offer one extra credit opportunity for any of the things that happen between now and March. That is equal to points for one of your absences. So if you would need to miss one of the classes, you can earn those points back. If you are watching this PowerPoint after January 15th, then you've already missed the opportunity for our first sports roundtable. But if you're watching this on Wednesday, our first sports industry roundtable of the semester will be Thursday, January 15th. And Dr. Huberty, our sport management extraordinaire, will be talking about sport venue security and risk management. And you might be thinking, well, as a coach, what would that have to do with me? But coaches do a lot of preparation and behind the scenes work to get sporting events, venues ready to go and make sure that they are safe for participants. So I think that'll be a great way to kind of get a snapshot on what kinds of things do I also need to consider from a coaching perspective. Every Tuesday during the spring semester, we'll be offering a fitness class in the dance studio over by the library. Various formats, anything from a body weight boot camp, strength training, high intensity interval training, and yoga. So those will rotate through on Tuesdays. You're welcome to drop into any of those. And then next Thursday, January 22nd, we'll have our spring kinesiology club meeting. Everybody who wants to be in the club can be in the club. You can be in any major, but that will be in Thompson Hall in our second floor lounge. So come on over at 11 o'clock, meet some other students who are interested in being engaged outside of the classroom. I mentioned in the first slide about our course outline. You can access that by clicking on the content button in my courses, and then rolling down to course essentials, where you'll find the syllabus, the assessments, the course overview, and then the course outline. So you can see I've highlighted this is January 14th and 16th. So we're talking about an intro to coaching and coaching considerations. Then we will not have school on Monday. That is Martin Luther King Day. And then we're back here again in class on Wednesday, January 21st. So if you're wanting to get a head start or a little sneak peek on what topics are going to be covered each day, this is subject to change, but this is my plan for now to roll through these 8 weeks together and introduce a lot of coaching ideas for you. So let's start out with, what is coaching? As we examine coaching in this class, remember there can be other types of coaches too. So we're mostly talking sports coaches, maybe at a high school level or college level or junior high level, but there can be wellness coaches. There can be coaches who do small group training. There can be academic coaches, mental skills coaches, lifestyle coaches. So coach, the idea of or definition of coaching is a person involved in the direction, instruction, and training of a team or individual. So for our purposes, we are thinking about it in mostly a physical way, right? But people can be coached in many different ways as well. So keep that in mind. Keep your mind open when you're thinking about how coaching might show up in different ways in different places in somebody's life. So a coach is viewed, or athletics is viewed very differently from very different constituent groups. I want you to think for yourself just for a couple of minutes about, how does a coach view the world of athletics? How does an athlete view the world of athletics? How does a parent view the world of athletics? How does a principal or athletic director or administration view athletics? And then how about the community? I have some examples for you, but I want you to put yourself in the footsteps of all of these different constituents or stakeholders to think about athletics. If we start with a coach, they might really view athletics as a learning opportunity or an opportunity to compete. When I did my coaching with my high school students, my main goal was to teach them the sport of track and field, so kind of the nuts and bolts of it, but I also wanted to foster a love of competing and a love of the sport for them. So that's really how I viewed athletics. It was through the lens of learning, healthy competition, and then helping people grow in their self-confidence. Athletes, they're going to view athletics as me, right? They are the one participating. They're the one competing. They, for better or for worse, think it's all about them and are have a lot of things going on in their mind with their identity around what athletics means to them as the athlete. We've got parents. Parents are going to view athletics as, hey, that's my kid, right? So this is my kid maybe getting a chance for scholarship money, or getting a chance to stay healthy, or athletics can be viewed as a vehicle for advancement. So what do I mean by that? Maybe athletics is somebody's way out of a unsustainable situation. Maybe somebody's grown up socioeconomically disadvantaged, but they're a really good athlete, and by being a basketball player or a hockey player or a football player, that can get them a different type of life that they might not be exposed to if they didn't have the sport. So a vehicle for advancement, for moving yourself up in society. Principals or administration, they definitely view athletics as a reputation for their school. If they have teams that are producing wins and getting good press coverage, the principal is going to be proud about that. There's going to be school pride. There's going to be a good reputation. But on the flip side, if sports teams aren't performing, or there are scandals or concerns with the sports, that can be a poor reputation for the school as well. And of course, there's a cost to athletics, right? Many of the sports, including the sports at Concordia St. Paul, operate at a loss. So they are not making money for the school. They're actually costing the school money. So a principal or administrator, there's more behind the scenes with them. They're thinking about the dollars and cents and the bottom line of the sport, not just for school pride or opportunities for students to learn and grow, but they're also thinking about the dollars and cents and the bottom line of the cost as well. And then we've got community. I grew up in a very small town, and the thing you did was go to the football games and go to the basketball games. So it's entertainment for the community. It's an opportunity for youngsters in the community to be in a safe place, to foster community and feelings of togetherness. I know my small community, when we had a team that was really good and they were featured in the newspaper and they were, on their way to winning a state championship, they really viewed success by their record, right? The community members maybe for the most part didn't think, oh my gosh, I hope that little John and little Jenny are learning lifelong skills. No, they're saying, oh my gosh, they're 14-0. This is amazing. They have such good talent, right? So they view success by the wins and losses and not necessarily some of the other intangibles. So athletics is viewed differently by different people. And it's more than just the games and the competition. Right? For any of you who've been an athlete or been in a coaching situation, the games, the competition, that is just a very small sliver of what sports or athletics looks like from behind the scenes. On this next slide, I've posed 3 individual reflection questions. I want you to pause the slideshow and write them down if you want to, or just think for a couple of minutes. What attracts you to a coaching profession, if anything? What deters you from a coaching profession or a coaching position, or maybe what kind of obstacles might be in the way? And then what do you feel in the dark about regarding coaching? So what do you not know yet? And I know it's hard to not know what you don't know, but what are some questions that you have about coaching? Is it, do I need to be certified? Or do I have to know everything about the sport? Or how do I get a coaching job? What are some of the things that you kind of feel in the dark about regarding coaching? So go ahead, pause the slideshow, jot down a couple of things for what attracts you to coaching, what is maybe a deterrent or an obstacle for you, and what do you feel in the dark about? You'll be coming back to these questions in a later slide. There are a lot of things to consider when you are thinking about taking a job as a coach, part-time coach or a full-time coach, and what that might look like. Yes, there's the glory in winning and finding talent and creating a cohesive team, but there are also other things that we need to consider that don't necessarily get advertised or said to the general public. That coaches find that they spend a lot of time thinking about, or a lot of their energy on. So we're going to run through these coaching considerations, and you can think to yourself, is that high on my priority list, low on my priority list? How might I deal with that? So number 1 is money. According to Indeed, the average salary of a coach is $47,000. So for those of you who want to walk out of school with a 6-figure job, a coach is not going to get you there. Most assistant coaches are in the low thousands. I coached at a high school, and I got $6,000 for the season. That was track and field, so that was March, April, May, and then a little bit of June. And I actually consider that pretty generous. I know that some assistant coaches at some colleges just get a very small stipend, or they volunteer too. I helped at a nearby college, and I got $2,000 for a season. So coaching might be on top of teaching. People who go into education oftentimes may, especially at a high school, may be a coach on the side, or if you have another full-time job, coaching might be a side gig on top of that, right? So it might be a few thousand extra dollars. Or if you're a teacher, you might get some release time in your academic prep day to coach as well. And there is money to be had in coaching, but those jobs are very competitive. So the things that you're seeing on social media with coaches getting millions and millions of dollars, there are very, very few of those. I'm not saying that can't happen to you, and it would be awesome if it did, but most coaches are walking away being paid less than $50,000, and they are putting a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into that work. Then we've got prestige. So what do I mean by that? Well, this might be your own internal needs to feel validated. Maybe you have unfinished business from your time as an athlete. Maybe your performance didn't go as well as you wanted it to, and you feel like you've got something to prove. You want to have a boost to your own self-esteem. You want that recognition. Many coaches in the big leagues, I think, probably love being in the spotlight, right? It's hard when they lose, but when they're winning, they're on top of the world, and they're really a media. There's a media frenzy around them. They might really enjoy that recognition and that prestige of being a coach. But you do need to ask yourself, why am I motivated to do it? Is it because I have some unfinished business that I didn't get to do with my time as an athlete, or what motivates you? Are you wanting to be a coach because it looks shiny and you make some money and there's a lot of perks that come along with it? Or is more of your coaching philosophy that you want to help people grow? And you can have both of those things. It doesn't have to be just one or the other, but prestige is definitely a reason that people consider coaching. Third one on here is job security. So many times you will sign a contract. I have a girlfriend from grad school who is a soccer coach at a Division II program and signed a 3-year contract. And if they have a lot of losses and not very many wins, her job security is not necessarily secure. So you earn your reputation, unfortunately, sometimes by wins and losses. So your job security is not guaranteed. Getting a 5-year contract for coaching, especially in the college world, that's pretty generous. Most coaches, it's 3 years at a time with the possibility for renewal, and knowing that you can be let go at any time because you are a contracted employee. So professional coaches are definitely viewed by wins and losses. Even if they are making great changes in the world, it really does come down to that record. So you have to think to yourself, are you okay with that job security or maybe lack of job security? Or if you're a part-time coach for middle school, the job is probably yours as long as you want it, because it can be hard to find people who are enthusiastic about teaching that age group as well. So job security is a consideration to think about with coaching. Then we've got program reputation. So what do I mean by that? Does this program have a reputation of winning? Does it have a reputation of solid academic performance? Does it have a reputation of not healthy relationships? Is there a lot of gossip and cliques and concerning behaviors going on? So what's the reputation of the program that you might be walking into? Is it a low-level C squad team that has no talent? They have a lot of heart but no talent, and they've just are kind of known as the team that everybody's going to beat. That might be appealing to you to walk into a program like that and hopefully turn it around. But the program reputation really might be something you consider when you're thinking about coaching. Physical energy. If those of you who have been athletes, you know how much time you put into your training. Now multiply that by a lot for the physical energy that it takes to be a coach. You've got long hours. Sometimes you've got 2-a-days. You've got summer training. Those of you who want to be a part-time coach, you might have a full day of work and then 2 to 3 hours of coaching and paperwork on top of that. You might be training with a full team. You might be training one-on-one with individuals if you're more of like a performance coach. Say you're a triathlon coach or a weightlifting coach. You might have many, many hours dealing with many, many people. So are you ready to be on that weight room floor for 6 hours in a row without a break with that physical labor? Definitely things to think about with your own physical battery and how much how much that excites you or maybe doesn't excite you about utilizing physical energy. And then you've got emotional energy too. So when I coached, I was a coach who wanted to be approachable and open, and that kind of backfired on me because the athletes' moods would then become my mood. I had a lot of athletes who, I shouldn't say a lot, but I had some athletes who were anxious or depressed or had broken up with their significant other, or school was not going well and they didn't want to be there. And that can really take an emotional toll on the coach as well, especially when you're trying to create a positive atmosphere. So the athlete's moods can sometimes dictate your mood if you're not careful. If you're coaching at younger ages, you might have parents that are nagging you. Do you have a way to compartmentalize that or move some of that negative energy out of the way? You have to find time for yourself to be able to de-stress. You might love running or love weightlifting. If you're coaching that all day long, probably the last thing you're going to want to do for your own stress relief is to go running or to lift weights, right? Because you've been around it all day long. So you got to find time for your own way to distress. And coaches experience burnout, just like other helping professions. The long hours, the physical energy, and the emotional and mental energy definitely take their toll if you're not careful, making sure that you can step away from your duties. And then the expectations. You have expectations for the athletes as a coach. You want them to show up on time, do their best. You expect good performances. But guess what? Other people have expectations for you too. Athletes are going to have expectations for you. Parents are going to have expectations for you. Administrators are going to have expectations for you. If you're coaching at a college level, you're going to have alumni and community members that are going to have expectations for you. The expectation might be you need to produce a winning season. Maybe you need to do fundraising. Maybe you have to coordinate team travel. Maybe you're in charge of safety for the team. Maybe you have to coordinate all different modes of behind the scenes facilities stuff. So lots of things to consider for expectations. There's a lot of hats that a coach wears and a lot of balls that they juggle. So it is much more than meets the eye of just the 90 minutes or 60 minutes that you are playing on a Friday night under the lights. There are many, many more things that go into it. So you might have some other ideas of considerations that might pop out to you as well for things to think about when you're considering a coaching career. Something that I learned the hard way was success in athletics doesn't always translate to success in coaching. So I was a successful high school and college athlete in track and field. I understood a lot about the rules of track and field, the training protocols, what it took to kind of train through uncomfortable situations. But just because I had that knowledge, that exercise science knowledge and the mental skills knowledge, did not equal me being a perfect coach by any means. There's an art to coaching and a science to coaching. So when I say science to coaching, that's things like, do you understand training protocols and recovery and goal setting and teaching people skills? That would be the science. But the art is, how do I motivate and inspire these people who are here for many different reasons? Some of them want to compete. Some of them, their parents might be making them do it. You might have shy people. You might have outgoing people. You might have really loud people. That's the art of kind of controlling and leading your group. You can know all the skills there are to know, but if you can't manage the art of coaching, that can be super frustrating. So I felt that way when I stepped into the high school coaching position that I had. The students knew nothing about track and field. Here I was, name dropping all these famous track and field people and talking about how fast I thought the kids were going to run and my plans for putting them on relays and field events. And they looked at me like, well, they'd never heard any of that stuff before. So I was trying to impress them with the science, but I definitely didn't impress them and maybe made them a little scared to be on the team because I might have been a little too intimidating or had a little too high expectations of them. So I really had to learn how to find that balance. You might have expectations of dreams of coaching. You might say, I'm going to walk into this field hockey team. That's what we've got a picture of here on the slide. And they are all going to show up to practice on time, and our drills are going to go smoothly, and nobody's going to get injured, and everybody's going to get along, and we're going to have great weather. Guess what? That's not going to happen. So there might be a mismatch with reality. One of the biggest frustrations of mine with high school coaching was that the section track meet happens in the middle of May, and so does the prom. And I thought that I had students who were excited to compete in the track meet, and earlier in that same week, they came to tell me they were going to prom instead. So here, my heart was broken. I'd put a lot of effort into it, helped them train. I thought we were going to do well, and they had chosen something else over my sport. I took that really personally. I was frustrated. I was disappointed that they hadn't let me know earlier. I would have made a different plan. But all of those things were things that I had to learn from experience and having an unfortunate experience with them to then think forward to, okay, how do I help this from happening next time? So my expectations and dreams were not a match with reality. So if you're walking in with rose-colored glasses thinking that this is going to be, everything's going to go well, it certainly is not. Maybe you have found a job that seems perfect for you on Indeed, like St. Paul Academy's head boys varsity golf coach or a youth sports coach at Skyhawks, and you're like, this is amazing. I wonder why nobody's grabbed this position up yet. Well, here's some things to think about when you see an open position. Why is it open? Is it that they just had turnover, somebody left their position, and now it's open for the public to apply for? What have they churned through 5 coaches in 4 years, and it seems like there's a lot of turnover? Has the team had a few losing seasons in a row, and they're looking for somebody to really be able to turn the ship around? So thinking about, why is this position open? For a lot of part-time jobs, that's going to make sense. People do them for 2 or 3 years and then step into something else. But if you're looking at a full-time coaching job, high school, college, or beyond, it's good to think about, why is this position open? What happened so that there's this vacancy? Might I be walking into some expected unrest? So if you get hired as the new softball coach and the part-time softball coaches really loved the former coach and are not making it easy for you, or there's the players don't welcome you, might there be some unrest or some concerns within the team cohesion of a team that you might be walking into? That would be something you'd want to think about before you apply for a position. What's the administration's attitude toward the program? Does the principal or the athletic director fully back you, or do they not really care about athletics and just say, you're not high on our priority list at all? So if you were going to go to an administrator and ask for more money or ask to change the culture of a team, are you going to be supported? Or is the attitude, oh, this sports team's just, sucking us dry of money, and we're not going to put any effort into this? So what's the attitude towards the program from administration? And then how about the students' attitudes toward the sport that you might be hired for, or just sports in general? Maybe you're coming into a high school or a college where sports are glorified and everybody celebrates and it's wonderful. Or you might walk into a space where, again, sports are really low on the priority list, and students aren't supportive. There's no student section. They don't care about the sport. Is that a place that you want to be? Is that a place that you could handle if the attitudes from other people are not that welcoming? So a few things for you to consider when you're looking at part-time or full-time coaching jobs that might be open. One of the questions you might have asked yourself when I asked you to reflect is, well, what kind of coaching jobs are there? How do I even get started, right? Do I need to be certified to be a coach? How do I get my name out there? There are a lot of different coaching opportunities, some that I was not even aware of before myself. I always had just kind of this single-minded vision of, you're like a D1 college coach or you're a professional sports coach, and those are the pinnacle of any type of coaching. But there are many, many different sorts of coaching situations out there. One of the ones that I didn't learn about until spring of my senior year in college was being a graduate assistant. Some of you might have graduate assistants on your coaching staffs of your team if you're a student athlete. So what that means is that in exchange for free graduate school or really, really reduced tuition, somebody helps on an athletic team 20 hours a week, give or take, in return for this education. So you get experience, you get exposure at a collegiate level, and You lots of times get a free master's degree, which is wonderful. That also gives you a higher earning potential because you are walking out of school with a master's degree instead of just a bachelor's degree. So Concordia hires graduate assistants for some sports. At Mankato, the previous institution that I was at, many of their sports had graduate assistants. They had graduate assistants in athletic training. I was a graduate assistant in campus recreation where I got to work with intramurals and fitness. And then I got free grad school. So definitely some benefits of continuing your education and then doing a graduate assistantship. Those are all going to be posted on the schools' websites. So any schools you're considering applying to, take a look to see if they offer graduate assistantships as well. There is a drawback or con to being a grad assistant. You don't really have much say in the coaching. So you're not the head coach by any means, right? You have minimal hours and minimal contact with the team, so it isn't really your team. You might be doing some menial tasks, like you might be the one calling in the sandwich orders for all of your travel. You might be the one who's doing the hotel room assignments for any away games. But hopefully you can prove yourself and get more and more detailed tasks as you go on in your graduate work. Then we've got youth or high school assistant coaching or head coaching. It's going to be little pay. It's going to be late hours. It's always after school stuff, but it can be a stepping stone to bigger options, right? So a lot of people get started as a junior varsity or B squad coach, kind of wait it out till that varsity coach position is open, and then step into that role. So definitely can be a stepping stone into bigger options. A drawback is that parents are going to get in the way. So they're going to have opinions. The community is going to have opinions on things, so you have to be able to be confident in your decisions and not let those parents talk your ear off. So you don't get paid a lot, you're committing a lot of extra hours, but if you really love the sport, that can be a great way to stay engaged with the sport. Then we've got college coaching. It's going to be much more year-round. You have other duties besides just practice and the games themselves or the competitions themselves. You're going to be working with donors. You're going to have administrative duties. Sometimes college coaches, as part of their coaching contract, teach a couple of fitness classes or sports classes. Like, again, down at Mankato, the golf coach taught a golf class that was in our physical education department, and that was part of his coaching contract. Or my friend who coaches over at Hamline University, part of his job is also running the summer sports camps. So not only does he coach track and field, but then he also has to do other duties as assigned for that. There's going to be more recruiting, so definitely more behind the scenes things, and it is much more of a year-round job. Most college coaches, that is their only job, but for some, they do some other things in the off season to supplement their income. And then there's other coaching environments. Like I mentioned earlier, performance coach, where you are maybe helping somebody train for a bodybuilding competition or helping somebody train for the NFL Combine. Strength and conditioning coach, life coach, wellness coach. So there's pros and cons to each of these. We are not in small groups right now, but I was going to have you guys make small group lists for what are some of the pros, what are some of the cons for each of these different coaching opportunities. And it doesn't have to just be a single focus on I'm only going to be a high school coach, right? Or I'm only going to be a college coach. There's many coaching opportunities out there in the wider community. This is one of my favorite topics to talk about because I think I can imagine from my high school one of each of these types of coaches. Now, no coaches are setting out to say, boy, I can't wait to be a hanger-on and a hanger-oner, but we've got coaches that are coaching for all different reasons and all different motivations, and sometimes it's best if they step out of the coaching world but don't recognize it. So maybe you can think about a coach in your experience in high school or college who maybe fits one of these coaching molds as well. We've got an idealist. This is a person who loves coaching. They have a great philosophy. They want to teach values to their athletes. They use the sport as a vehicle. So yes, they love the competition, but they really see the idea of being part of a team, committing to something that's greater than you, creating a team culture and values and ethics They really want to see coaching for all the good things that it is and sports for all the good things that it is. So they are an idealist. They are, I'm not going to say that's the perfect type of coach, but that is a coach who people are going to follow them because they are inspired by them. So, can you think of any idealists that you've run across with coaches? Then we've got the rolling stones. This is somebody who's constantly changing jobs. They're not satisfied. They start as a B squad coach. It's been 2 years. They don't have room to move up to a varsity coach at the same spot they're at, so they jump schools. Then they jump somewhere else. Then they dabble in something else for a little while. So they're not creating any type of longevity or any type of long team culture. They're a rolling stone. They just keep moving along because they're not satisfied. We've got climbers. These are the people who don't care who they step on to get themselves to the top. So they try to make it to the top no matter who gets used. They are in it for their own glory. They forget about the student athletes that are making them who they are. They might use the athletes to benefit themselves. There's definitely been some stories in the press, not necessarily recently, but stories that I can think about where the coaches they definitely didn't have the best interests of the team in mind, right? They were working for their own pride or their own satisfaction, and they just want to make it to the top, and they don't care who gets stepped on the way. So hopefully you haven't had a climber in your experience, but they're definitely out there. We've got ambitious coaches. These are coaches who see that the glass is half full. They're going to do what they can to make their goals happen. They're not going to break any rules. They're not going to step on anybody. They're not going to be unethical. And when I say step on anybody, I don't mean physically, but maybe physically, but step on anybody to get them out of the way. But they will do what it takes to be at the top of their game. They might move. So if a new position comes open and they see that they can bring a positive impact to it, they are willing to pack up their family and move because they feel ambitious that they are called to be in this new place. They're not going to, again, break any rules to do it. They're not going to go against a coaching code of ethics, but they are going to make the moves when they can. So even if they've established a great culture and a great team, they might, I don't want to say jump ship, but they might move somewhere else because they see another opportunity for that goal. So maybe you've had somebody in your life who's been an ambitious coach. And then we've got the hanger-oners. This was my high school, well, not my high school wrestling coach, but the wrestling coach at our high school. I think he had coached for 50 years, so that means he was at least 70. He, there was tradition behind it, so people enjoyed him and his legacy. He wasn't necessarily producing great wrestlers anymore. He didn't keep up to date on the new science or the new things that came along with the sport. He's kind of stuck in his ways. He enjoyed being known as the wrestling coach. Maybe he feared, what happens if I step away? Am I going to be nobody? But he definitely stayed coaching a few years longer than probably was in his best interest. So maybe you've had a hanger-oner in your coaching world. I've introduced some of the types of coaches, some of the things to think about when you're considering a job, maybe in the coaching realm. Now I want you to take a little bit more time for some private reflection or individual reflection and think about coaching qualities that have really been important to you. So think about a coach that you really admired, really respected. What qualities did they bring? Were they approachable? Were they cut and dry and said it like it was? Were they physically and emotionally available? Were they optimistic? Did they give everybody a chance? Like, think about a coach that you really admired and respected, and what qualities would you most want to emulate or replicate from that coach? Like, what did you really like about that coach? Why did that coach really feel like a good connection for you? And then I want you to think about what qualities do you have that you can bring to coaching? Are you outgoing? Are you able to command a room? Do you have knowledge of the sport? Can you communicate with different types of people? Young people, parents, administrators? So You can pause the PowerPoint and take just a couple of minutes to think about a coach you really respected and what qualities really drew you to that coach. And then what qualities do you have that you can bring to coaching? These are some of the qualities that maybe popped up for you in the list that you made about a coach that you want to emulate, or qualities that you maybe feel like you have. So there's a lot on here. I'm going to talk through just a few of them, but if any of these phrases catch your eye, I certainly would encourage you to do a bit more research on them. We've got things like transparent realism. So, can you tell it like it is, but without hurting people's feelings? How about organizational skills? It's one thing to be able to coach a game, but can you do all that other behind the scenes stuff? Ability to motivate and inspire. Dedication and commitment. Are you going to stick with it when the going gets tough and it's really frustrating? Can you make hard decisions, hard choices? Are you willing to do that? How about discipline? And I don't mean making people run the bleachers or laps around the gym, but how can discipline be a productive or positive part of your experience? How about identifying goals, goals for yourself and goals for your team? Recognizing talent. Do you know what to look for when you're looking for somebody who's talented? And not only recognizing it, but how about using it? You might recruit the most talented kid, but if you can't get them to perform for you, that's not going to be helpful. Do you have a desire to win? That can mean a lot of different things. A dislike of mediocrity. So, are you not satisfied with the status quo? Are you going to keep pushing those boundaries because you don't like just being middle of the road? Can you show an interest in each individual? So, can you see everybody for the talents and the personality characteristics that they bring? Do you have a willingness to work? Are you ready to put in 12-hour days, 15-hour days, be on the road, have more time with your student athletes than you do with other loved ones in your life? Can you know the difference between winning and losing, and not just how many wins do I have in my win column and losses in my loss column, but what does that mean on a broader scale? Do you have knowledge of the sport? Do you actually know your sport? If somebody was going to try to hire me to be a golf coach, I would be not a good golf coach at all. So I would certainly not seek out a golf position, but I feel very confident in track and field. How about proper use of language? If you're going to talk to third and fourth grade soccer players, that's going to look very different than how you might talk with junior high students, high school students, college students, pro athletes, right? So what types of language and what types of voice and body language, voice tone and body language do you use with different groups? Do you have good judgment and ethics? Are you making decisions that are supportive and positive for the whole? Consistency and fairness. What happens when your team's not winning anymore, but you told all your players they were all going to get playing time? How are you going to hold up your end of the bargain with that? Do you have an imagination? Can you be creative? Can you motivate and inspire others? And then do you have a plan for everything? Because things are not going to go according to your plan. So having a backup plan, a plan B, and a plan C, and a plan D is definitely going to serve you well as a coach. So take a look at these considerations. Maybe those are other things, other talents that you might bring to the coaching sphere. I have one more reflection slide for you. I want you to think about yourself as a new coach, and even if you've been doing some coaching on a part-time level with youth or young people, junior high or high school level, I want you to think, who do you want to be? Do you want to be what do you want your reputation to be? What do you want your athletes to say about you? What do you want other coaches to say about you? How do you want your personality to shine through as a coach? What are your goals, values, and philosophy? You're going to get to have an assignment here coming up on Monday, thinking about how you might get to be your dream job and what that might look like. Having goals is part of getting yourself to a dream job. And then how are you going to lead your team? Are you going to be a democratic leader where you let the teammates make a lot of the decisions? Are you going to be a servant leader? Or are you going to be authoritative? There's a right spot for a lot of different types of leaders, but how are you going to lead your team? So go ahead and pause the PowerPoint again and just jot down a few notes or think to yourself about, as a coach, who do I want to be? What do I want my legacy to look like? What do I want my players to expect from me? What are my goals? What is my coaching philosophy? Is it win at all costs? Is it everybody gets to play? Is it I want the student athletes to demonstrate perseverance in the face of disappointment? I'm not going to put words into your mouth. I want you to think for yourself what you envision how your coaching role would look. You have 2 out-of-class assignments or tasks to complete. You will be doing the dream job pathway, which is going to be an assignment that I'll talk about on the next slide, but then you also are going to be completing a first-time coaching reflection. This is how you're going to get your attendance points for watching this, I was going to say webinar, but watching this video lecture since we didn't have class on Wednesday and Friday. So your first time coaching reflections has a couple of questions in it. One of those questions is asking you to think about what you heard in the PowerPoint today, everything from types of coaches to reasons that people coach to things to think about for why a job is open, to priorities of coaches, certain skills that they might have. And then you are going to be asked to watch 3 different videos from the Positive Coaching Alliance. This is a website I really like. And you're going to watch 3 videos for first-time coaches and do a short reflection on each one of those videos. So the instructions are in that first-time coaching reflections assignment. So you can find that under your work to do tab, or you can click on the assignments tab and then pull down the assignment, or you can click on the week 1 module or folder under content, and you will see the first time coach reflection. That is due Sunday, January 18th, 11:59 p.m. And then your out of class assignment for this week, assignment number 1, also due Sunday at 11:59 p.m. So 2 things to turn in to my courses on Sunday night, is your dream job pathway. Now, there are no right or wrong answers for this. I do not want you using artificial intelligence to make your writing more clear. I want you to just write in your own words. Or better yet, if you want to make a video and talk through it, you can do that too. The question is very vague. It is, what is your dream job? And I want you to list a path that you think you need to take to get there. So if your dream job is officiating basketball at the Olympics, how are you going to get there? Work yourself backwards. Or if your dream job is to be a Division I college coach for basketball, how are you going to get there? So be specific with your steps. Who are you going to reach out to? What might be your next step within Concordia or outside of Concordia? Again, I don't want to put too many thoughts in your mind because I want this to be something that you could take as an action step for moving towards that dream job. And maybe you have a job that is something different than coaching. That's totally fine too. Maybe you want to be an athletic director or a physical therapist. What steps do you need to take to reach that dream job? So this can be written format, or you can also record a video if you want to. Make sure that you're taking a peek at the rubric so that you know how you can earn full points for that assignment. All right, we have one more slide left. So I won't see you again until Wednesday, January 21st. As a reminder, we do not have class on Monday, January 19th. That is Martin Luther King Day, so the university has no classes at all. But when you come back to class on Wednesday, we'll be completing a coaching strengths profile in class. You're going to get matched up with another classmate. We have a big class, so we'll do this in pairs. But I want you to think about the questions that I've posed to you. What are your goals? What are your strengths? What are things that you bring to coaching? And then we're going to put that into a coaching strengths profile. So that is what we'll spend our time on in class next Wednesday when I see you. So I hope you have a great weekend and that I've given you some food for thought, kind of an introduction to coaching and some of the coaching considerations, regardless of the level of coaching you might be interested in. A lot of things to think about. Take care, everybody. We'll see you Wednesday.